Hey everybody, it's me. It's your good buddy Thorne, and today we're going to talk about war games. So, you stand at ease and smoke them if you got them. You ready? Let's go. Alright, so you've been, if you're watching this now, you've probably seen this channel before. So you kind of know that we talk about reenacting, we talk about LARPing, we talk about wargaming, etc., etc. But today I want to talk about wargaming and kind of give you my philosophy on the whole thing and talk to you about bringing the historical aspect into your war games. Now, not historic war games, because that's a totally different thing, but, and we'll talk about that too. But bringing historical, crap into wargaming. All right? Okay. So, let me take a drink of my coffee because it's going to be a while. So, historical wargaming, or wargaming in general, goes way back probably to the beginning of mankind. They found toy soldiers in Tutankhamun's tomb. They found what they think are miniature soldiers or toy soldiers in the Assyrian burial grounds in Ur. Goes all right through time period. H.G. Wells in the late 1800s wrote the first modern series of miniature rules. And I kind of got hooked on miniature wargaming. To be honest, I've always played with little soldiers. And as I grew older and grew up, my focus kind of changed from playing on the floor with my best friend Tom, with little green army men going bang, 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 I got you, no you didn't, to where I am today, which is technically pretty much the same thing. We have rules, we roll dice, but really it's the same thing. So what I want to talk to you about is the big W, war gaming versus war gaming. Okay? So the first thing I want to talk to you about is really, the first two things I want to talk to you about is scale and figure ratio. Alright? Alright, so the first thing is scale. Right? What is scale? Hi, Hobbs. No, you can't have my coffee, you bad cat. You are a bad cat. Hobbs is here helping us out today, providing the 1-to-1 scale of a Panther tank. So, scale. We're talking figure scale. Now, where this comes into effect is, back when you were a kid and you were playing with little green army men, they were about yay tall, or these are a little bigger, but pretty much, they are the same thing. And that represents what size the soldiers are. Like a G.I. Joe, like 12-inch G.I. Joe, is really 1-to-6 scale. And that means 6 G.I. Joes will be 6 feet tall. That's your standard cutoff line, okay? More typically in miniature wargaming, historical wargaming, you're going to see 1-to-15 scale, which is about like that, or 15 millimeter, because we go from 1-to-15s to actual figure sizes. So a 15 millimeter figure is actually 15 millimeters tall. Now that represents from his foot to his eyeballs for some strange reason, and that represents 6 feet. So 15 millimeters, 6 feet, is 15 millimeter. Now, more common in, let's say Dungeons and Dragons, or lately the more common figure scale is going to be 28 millimeter, which is 28 millimeters from foot to eyeball. Okay, and then they have 28 millimeter heroic. And what they also have is 28 millimeter hero scale, which is, they're not actually a 1-to-1 representation of the figure, but they're a little beefier. They look like heroes, okay? So that's scale, all right? The next thing I want to talk to you about is figure ratio. So ratio, what ratio means is, now like scale, figure scale is how big a figure is. Figure ratio is how many figures or how many actual human beings or whatever that one figure represents. Like if we say it's 1 to 1, that means I am one soldier and I am representing one soldier. What you see here is a representation in 1 to 1 scale of a modern infantry squad. We have the squad leader, team leader A, rifleman, grenadier, saw gunner. Team leader B, rifleman, grenadier, saw gunner. Alright, so there's 8 figures in the squad, plus the squad leader is 9. That's a figure scale of 1 to 1. Alright? Now, more common in wargaming, let's say Napoleonic wargaming is a figure scale of 1 to 20. That means each figure equals 20 men. Most typically, they're mounted on stands or wooden bases or cardboard or something with a width and depth, which represents about how far in reality this is. And you'll have a number of figures on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 figures equals 120 men. And in Napoleonic wargaming, 120 men is about the size of an infantry company. Ironically, it's about the size of an infantry company today. Okay? Does that make sense? So we're talking about ratio and scale in your miniature wargaming. Alright? Basics, basics, basics. Okay? Let's go on to the next. So the next thing I want to talk about is, first I'm going to take a drink of coffee. Figure ratio. Now we talked about the 1 to 1 scale and we talked about what this is. Now this is out of FM 7-23, the modern FM for infantry. This is an 8-man squad. On the tabletop, if we were playing with these guys, if we had rules to tabletop these guys, we would have to know in one turn how far they could move and how far their weapons could shoot. Okay? Just as like if you're playing the squad leader in real life, you need to know how far your men can move and how far their weapons can engage in, being historically accurate. Now, that's pretty straightforward and simple because, like I said, I've got a squad leader. This is you. You've got 2 team leaders. Squad leader, usually an E5. Team leaders, usually E4, maybe a junior E5. You've got a rifleman, a grenadier, which is usually armed with the M4, M203, which is a 40mm grenade launcher, and the saw gunner, which carries the M249 light machine gun, which pretty damn effective, to tell you the truth. Then you have Team B, which mirrors this. Rifleman, stand up there, Sergeant. Rifleman, grenadier, saw gunner. So, your 9 men basically fit into 2 vehicles. Now I'm going back to my experiences in Iraq, where we were running in Humvees, usually up-armored Humvees, 1025s, 1026s. They could hold usually 5 people, right? So you've got driver, squad leader running as a vehicle commander, grenadier in the back, rifleman in the back, saw gunner in the gun hatch, running the gun. You've got the second team the same way. You've got driver, vehicle commander, saw gunner, and rifleman in the back. Then you've got a spare, and sometimes you'd have a medic with you, sometimes you'd have somebody else. But that was 2 vehicles, okay? Running in 2 vehicles. This was very effective, and so for one squad, second squad, third squad. Now with the 3 squads, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles for your 3 squads. 3 squads in platoon, another vehicle for the platoon sergeant, and probably another vehicle for platoon commander. So 6, 7, 8 vehicles in a platoon. That's basically what we're running in Iraq. When I was there, running security forces and combat operations. Now, how does this tie into wargaming? Okay. Realistically, what we were doing in Iraq, we trained and practiced using almost this sort of thing. We wargamed it out. We played every scenario that could happen and practiced what we would do. As a platoon sergeant, as a platoon sergeant or platoon leader, you needed to know what to do. You needed to know what your soldiers were capable of. You needed to know what their weapons were capable of. As a squad leader, you needed to know the same thing. As a soldier, you needed to know what to do in any circumstance. If we got hit with an IED, which happened quite a bit, everybody had a certain job. Everybody did something. If we were attacked by small arms fire, it's the same thing. Those are called combat drills. React to contact is a contact drill. IED ambush is a contact drill. Attacking a bunker, as Lane pointed out to me the other day, is a contact drill. You study and learn and become the warrior through practice. And I would argue that practice starts right here on the table. Maybe not with miniature soldiers. Maybe you're writing and diagramming it out. But you as a soldier, as a warrior, you train, here we go, you train as you fight. You train what you do as you fight. As a wargamer, we're kind of trying to replicate that same situation that I'd had in Iraq and Afghanistan, but now we're doing it on the tabletop and we're doing it for fun. It's kind of weird being back in uniform. I haven't put this on in 8 years. I retired in 2011. I haven't put this on since then. I drug it out today to talk about this because to me this is important not only as a wargamer but as a soldier. Okay? This is what I did with my squad leaders when I was a platoon sergeant. Well, when I was a platoon leader. This is what I did with my company commanders when I was a battalion commander. This is what I did with my platoon leaders when I was a company commander. This is important stuff. All right, enough of the preaching. Let me have a drink of coffee. And so you're saying, why are you preaching to us, Thorne, about being good soldiers? Well, it's a good thing to do. But I've been playing this war game recently. It's called Kill Team. It's by Games Workshop. It's a Warhammer 40k Kill Team. Or Warhammer 40k Kill Team is the name of the game. This is the core rules, and it's it's pretty dang good. Let's put that right there. My first initial take on this is Infantry Squad Tactics Basic 101. What we just talked about with this infantry squad in reality is what you got in here. Now it's science fiction, so there's lasers and there's blasters and there's tanks and there's monsters. There are alien creatures trying to destroy you. But where does it boil down to? This right here. This right here. And so I took this set of rules and decided what I wanted to do was build this in the game just to see what would happen. See if it's playable. Knowing the few things that I need to know. What weapons do I have in the squad? We have M4s, we have M203 grenade launchers, and M249 light machine guns or SAW, squad automatic weapons. That's our weapon systems that we're going to try to replicate. Can we do that in 40K? And surprisingly, the answer is yes. And let me show you how I did it. All right? I took this basic block of Squad leader, SL. Team leader, A. Rifleman, Grenadier, and Squad automatic weapons gunner. Team leader B, Rifleman, Grenadier, saw gunner. So that was my template. Gentlemen, you are dismissed. Now, that was my template. Let me show you what I did. Squad leader is your sergeant in Kill Team. Now, this sergeant, by the rules, is armed with a pistol and a chainsword or power sword. However, in reality, you want your leaders armed exactly like everybody else. You don't want them to stand out, because then they draw sniper fire, and that's not a good thing. So we have a team leader A, armed with a Hell Blaster or volley gun, or Hell Blaster, what is it, a Hell Blaster laser gun, or a hot shot laser gun, that's sorry. You've got a rifleman armed with that hot shot laser gun. You have a grenadier armed with the grenade launcher. And then you have a saw gunner, squad automatic weapon, which is a Hell Blaster volley gun. Okay? Team B is the exact same thing. You've got a team leader, a rifleman, a grenadier, and a saw gunner. And that is one-to-one scale representation of that same infantry squad in the war game. Is this an effective warfighting unit? Well, then we got a couple other things we got to figure out. We need to know weapons, and we need to know ranges, and effectiveness. So those are our two key things that we have to do. And how do we do that? By looking in the rules. So in our book, under Astra Militarum, or infantry, basic Imperial Guard infantry, it has a series of characteristics. You can roll for specialists and roll for names if you really wanted it. But it tells you what their stat line is. Okay? So our guardsman moves 6 inches. Okay? Ballistic skill is 4+. So when you're rolling your dice, it tells you how many points you need to get to hit somebody. Your ballistic skill, which is how fast you can shoot. Your toughness, which is how strong they are. Wounds is basically 1 across the board, with the exception of the sergeant. The sergeant's a little tougher, he has 2. How many attacks you get, your leadership, what you have to save on, and how many you can have in the game itself. Now, we did a Scion, which is your elite special forces unit, which is what we've done. And they got their little red berets on. So their ballistic skills and toughness is a little higher, and their attacks is a little better, but they can take some special weapons. Like your hot shot laser gun, which is what most of the squad leaders and riflemen are. Your range is 18 inches. You can fire 1, a strength 3, AP or armor piercing -1 or -2, and damage is 1. So range is only 18 inches with these guys. That's not very far. All right. Grenade launcher, 24-inch range, either a frag grenade or a crack grenade, which is an anti-person or anti-tank weapon. Pretty good stats. Hot shot volley gun, heavy 4, 24 inches, and that's basically what we got. So we got 18 inches for our small arms, or our rifles. We got 24 inches for our support weapons. So with that in mind, we know exactly how close we need to be to the enemy to kill him. And our strengths and our ballistic skill, and then the strength of the weapons is what's going to tie this down. Is this effective on the battlefield? I don't know yet. We need to play a couple games and find out. But if you want to represent the Army modern army in wargaming, this is how you would do it. This is your layout for a Scion, a Astra Militarum infantry squad. It's the exact same thing as these little guys, just at a different scale. Now we're grown up. We play with rules. We roll dice instead of going, my guy gets you. Ah, medic! Oh, Jonesy!